started here, and if we have some other folks join, then we'll get them in. But as I mentioned, we are recording this as well, and that way we can share it with others. But really appreciate Jim Johnson, who is our director of Intercollegiate Athletics, for taking some time out of his busy schedule to tune in with us this morning and give us some updates on what's going on in the world of PSU athletics. It's been a crazy year for Jim and his coaches and our student athletes, and I'm sure he'll speak a little bit to that, but I'm sure he'll talk a little bit about the times to come and us looking forward to getting back to normal a little bit more too. So Jim, I'll toss it over to you, sir.
Okay, John, thank you. And thanks for the invite. I'm sure, as we've all said a million times, we'd rather do these in person, and we're not far from that, as hopefully. So by the fall, hopefully we'll be doing some of this stuff like we're used to doing it, and not on Zoom and Teams and all these other things. I think it's interesting, though, one thing we've decided as it relates to a lot of the work we've done with the MIAA and the NCAA over the past 15 months, and however many thousands of these meetings we've been on, we have decided that we'll never, ever do another conference call. The conference calls are a thing of the past now. If we can't meet in person, we'll meet via video. So the old days of the conference calls are over, which I'm fine with that. But yeah, it's been certainly this academic year has been interesting, but really it started back March, I believe 12th of a little over a year ago now, when we were driving home from Kansas City after the MIAA basketball tournament on a Sunday afternoon, and that's kind of when it felt like the world fell apart. And that was the last event we participated in for that year. We had softball had played the day before, baseball I think the day before. We had I believe 19 indoor track student athletes on site in Birmingham ready to participate in the national meet. So they got a trip to Birmingham and back, but never got to compete. And it was that Wednesday, I believe, whenever all the Division I conference basketball tournaments were canceled, and then within 24 hours or so of that, all the postseason basketball, NCAA final men's tournament and all that got canceled, and it's kind of domino effect after that. And obviously everybody was a part of that. So the year came to a screaming halt. I think we played 22 baseball games maybe, and had just started conference play that weekend in softball, and then obviously never got to outdoor track. But our coaches did a really nice job of working through that through the months of March through June, middle of July, and then we reopened campus July 22nd, and even though on campus we were telling folks, you know, if you can work from home, that's okay to do, and coaches aren't wired that way, though. They don't work from home very well. I think Bob Fernelli, for the first time in his life, built an outdoor fire pit. It'd be hard to believe some of the projects our coaches took on over 4 months that they would never have done at any point in their life. But they got back at it and fought through this thing. And every school has their success stories and how they navigated all of this, but I'd put ours up there with anybody's in terms of taking care of our student athletes, taking care of our coaches, making sure everybody stayed healthy, but finding a way to give them a chance to participate and compete. You know, like many schools, Dr. Scott and I felt like that there was a huge mental wellness piece of this, and to not allow some activity, whether that be practice or finding a way to play some games and so forth. We felt like that was important from a mental wellness standpoint, and that was really what was our motivation as much as anything, to try to make something work. And so as time went on, we found ways as an institution or as a conference to be able to do some of that. I'm sure all of you are aware we played 4 football games. I think that was really important for Coach Wright and his staff being new. They literally had 2 practices last spring before we were shut down. So they had a long ways to go in putting their program in place. and only had 2 days to do that. So getting them back here and being able to do some things was important. I think playing those 4 games, I hope, really pays off for us this coming fall. I think that the big advantage, certainly with a new coaching staff, but I think a big advantage anyway, that we were able to have kind of 4 weeks of normalcy there. To the extent it was normal, we still had testing, had to travel different, those sorts of things, but we found a way to do it. We played 4 football games. We had 5 scheduled. We had Western Colorado scheduled to come here on November 28th, I believe, and they had a COVID issue and ended up having to cancel that. So we only played 4, but two huge success stories within that 4 weeks was on November 14th. We played at Stephen F. Austin, which is a Division I FCS school. Number one, we don't ever get the chance to do that because we play a 11-game MIAA schedule. We don't have the opportunity to play a game like that. So that was a plus. But we've also got a lot of mileage out of the fact that on November 14th, we were the only Division II school in the country playing football out of about 165. So, and I know coaches use that a lot in recruiting and showing our commitment to the sport of football here and what it means to the university, the community, that we found a way to do that. And we were the only one in Division II doing it on that particular day. The next week, November 21st, we went out to West Texas A&M, and we were the only 2 schools. We were the only Division II game in the country that day, only 2 schools out of 165 playing. So I hope that pays off for us down the road and shows our commitment. We did it in a safe way. We didn't jeopardize anyone's health doing that, and it all worked. We got to play 1 home game. We were hoping to play 2. Unfortunately, we didn't. We agreed to bring Nebraska Kearney in here, and that's always a tall task with the type of offense they run. So certainly with the new defensive staff, we threw them on the field for the first time against the triple option, which is not ideal. But we learned some things and got to play a home game, which I think was important, even though at 25% capacity was important for our community and an institution to be able to do that. So then what that did for football is it really got them back on track on a normal schedule. We played those 4 games, went home for Thanksgiving. Everybody stayed home until the middle of January, came back, and then on January 21st, really had a pretty normal spring in terms of what spring ball looks like and those sorts of things. Had a great crowd for the spring game on I believe it was April 3rd. So a lot to be excited about as we head into the fall with football. And I don't know if you would have told Brian you're going to take the job on December 7th of 2019. You're really not going to coach a real game until September 2nd of 2021. I'm not sure he would have taken that, but who knew at that point? In other sports, we really had a pretty normal basketball season. We reduced the number of games, not just Pitt State or the MIAA. We changed the maximum number of games nationally that all Division II schools could play, just to shorten the season as a cost containment measure and to try to manage all the COVID stuff. But we played 22. We normally would play 28 regular season games. We played 22, and we played all of ours as scheduled. We had 2 games that we had to move to a different day, but it really didn't change our schedule much. And those moves were due to COVID situations on our opponent, not us. We really, our coaches, student athletes, training staff, student health center staff just really managed this thing magically. Really, I don't know it could have gone better, honestly, with our testing and what we did with making sure, if somebody was sick or did test positive, that we managed that and didn't put other people at risk. And I'm just not sure it could have gone much better, honestly. There were several, just about everybody else in the MIAA at some point in time shut down either their men's or women's teams for a 7 or 14 day period. We never had to do that. Central Oklahoma did it to the extent that when we got to the last week of the season, in order to get their entire schedule in, had to play 4 games in 6 days. And we stayed on schedule on our Thursday, Saturday games, and we had to move a Newman game early in the season from a Thursday to a Tuesday, and we had to move Northwest Missouri games here in Pitt from December 19th to January 2nd, which wasn't really any big deal at all. So it all worked well. The women qualified for the conference tournament. That wasn't this year in Kansas City. Certainly didn't feel the same as normal. We were the lucky ones to get on a bus and go to Nebraska Kearney, which is not an ideal trip, but and Kearney had a really good year and ended up playing in the regional finals. So, learned a lot throughout the basketball season, but made it through. Volleyball, we didn't play at all in the fall. Did play a spring season, an extended spring season, had a conference tournament. We qualified for that a couple of weeks ago. So like football, volleyball is sort of now back on a normal schedule. And baseball and softball are going on now, as is outdoor track. We had indoor track. Washburn hosted the conference meet. We did well there. We had some student athletes qualify for nationals. Of course, those events looked a lot different with no spectators. And if you have a chance to watch any of those online, a track meet is really a strange thing with no fans. But the bottom line is we had them. We competed. We didn't cancel them. So even though they looked a little different, our student athletes got a chance to compete. And we baseball and softball finishes up this weekend, tomorrow and Saturday, finishes their regular season. Baseball has 2 weekends remaining before the conference tournament. We're sitting in third place right now. Baseball really played well the last couple of weeks. Swept Missouri Southern this last weekend, which is never. Casey, you ready for this? We've never swept Missouri Southern in baseball ever.
Wow.
Ever.
Wow.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah.
And those some years have been 3-game series, some years 4 games. Of course, that varies over the years how that's looked. But in terms of playing them in a conference series in baseball, that's the first time ever that's happened. So, Bob's got him playing really well right now. His teams typically get better and play well in April and May, which is what you want to do. And this year's no exception. We're at Missouri Western this weekend for 3 games, and then home next weekend with Emporia for 3 games, and hopefully he'll hold on to that 3rd spot, maybe move up to 2, and then we'll get into the conference tournament and see how it goes. We're sitting in 3rd, Missouri Southern in 4th, and Central Oklahoma in 5th, and we have tiebreakers on both of those. So we're sitting in hopefully pretty good shape with 6 games to go here. And then track will go up to Grand Valley for the national meet here Memorial Day weekend, and wrap up their season there. And we'll know here in a couple weeks how many qualifiers we have there. Should be about our typical number in the 15 to 20 range, probably something like that. So as we look to the fall, we're planning to open. We'll open at Central Missouri on Thursday, September 2nd in football. And right now, our league is planning to be business as usual. I mean, there may still be some things we have to do behind the scenes. We may be wearing after the CDC action a couple of days, or yesterday, I guess, or 2 days ago. Don't know that masks will be required for outdoor activities. Hopefully things are going to continue to get better. But we're planning right now for playing in Warrensburg on September 2nd. And then just by pure luck, as the calendar and football schedule worked out, we get to open at home on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. So we've got some fun stuff planned there. That's going to be a big weekend. If hopefully you can get to Pittsburgh for that weekend of September 10th, well, actually 9th through the 11th. We're going to host a 16 volleyball tournament. We're going to do the 2020 Hall of Fame inductions that we didn't get to do last fall. We're going to get caught up there, do those. We usually do those later in the season, so we're going to do it that first weekend. We kind of figured if we were going to have a big home football opener and everything back to normal, we might as well just do it all. So we're going to do Hall of Fame volleyball tournament and the home opener in football, and we'll be publishing that schedule of events here before too long. Hall of Fame induction will be at 6 o'clock on Friday evening in the Bicknell Center for the first time, and Casey, that'll be live streamed as well, just like commencement. We're going to do Hall of Fame a little different than the sit down banquet type meal in the Student Center. We're going to do it in the Bicknell so that we can live stream it and kind of start a new way of doing that this coming year. We'd planned to do that in 2020 anyway.
That's great.
So the class on September 10th will be the 2020 class that had been selected quite a while ago. We are going to add to that class the 2011 national champion football team. So you automatically go in the Hall of Fame as a team on the 10th anniversary of your national championship. So technically, they're going to go in a little ahead of the rest of the 2021 class, but we just felt like that made a lot of sense if we were doing it on the home opener with football. Let's go ahead and get those guys here that weekend and do that. And we'll also that Saturday afternoon while tailgating is going on, then at 2:30 on Saturday afternoon, we're going to dedicate medallions for Coach Beck and Coach Jewett at Champions Plaza as well. So a lot going on that weekend. We're really looking forward to it, and at 7 o'clock play a football game. So it should be a lot of fun. As it relates to the Hall of Fame, then we'll get caught up by going ahead and selecting a 2021 class. Dan's got that teed up here just in the next week, I believe, to pull the selection committee together and get that class selected. And then we're going to induct them during basketball season. On January 29th, we'll have a home indoor track meet and home basketball, and then we'll do a Hall of Fame induction then, which is out of our normal way of doing things. Typically, that's in football season, but that'll allow us to get caught up then as we go into the fall of 22. So that's kind of what's coming up in the spring, summer, and fall, and kind of where we've been the last few months. It's certainly been interesting. Just kind of some trivia here, if you're interested. The most up-to-date numbers I have were as of February 3rd, and we did a sort of a February 3rd cutoff on some of our testing before all of our spring sports sort of got up and running. We kind of wanted to see where we were. So from the start of COVID through February 3rd, we had done 1,217 COVID tests for student athletes and coaches. And probably since then, or by the time we get to the end of baseball, softball, and track, probably another 1,600. So somewhere in the area of 2,800 tests that have been done to ensure that we could play. And out of that 1,217, we only had 138 positive tests. So about a 2.8% positivity rate, which with a population of 360 student athletes, that's probably as low as there was in the country, I would guess. And that's just a testament to how our coaches and student athletes, they stayed out of restaurants, they stayed out of bars, they stayed away from house parties. They went to class, came to practice. A lot of classes were online, but they did everything that they needed to do to make this work. And that just cannot be stated enough. They work hard all the time, but the extra work they put in to do things right the last 15 months to make this work is a real success story. We had, in addition to those positive tests, and we obviously had some folks just get COVID and be without asymptomatic testing, got sick, but we only, as of since June 29th of 20, we've had 153 positive cases out of our population of people around here with student athletes and staff, out of probably about 450 people in round numbers. Out of 150 with those 138 positive tests, and then some people that just contracted it. But nobody really sick. I mean, we just got really lucky. Nobody that, Phil Carr, ironically, our head trainer is the only guy that ended up in the hospital. And Phil was the one managing all this, and he did a phenomenal job managing it, but he did come down with it, COVID and pink eye at the same time. So I don't think he'd mind us telling that, because he laughs about it now. And but he was a sick guy for a few days, but he's doing well now. Other than that, we really did well with this, all things considered. So, John, I'll stop there if you want, and we can take questions or anything that I didn't talk about. I can talk about guerrilla athletics as absolutely as long as you want me to, but we have some exciting stuff going on. I will one thing that I'll throw out facility wise, a couple of things I'll throw out facility wise maybe before I stop is just because we had COVID, we're not going to stop improving facilities around here. That's something that's an ongoing project to make sure we have quality facilities for our student athletes, coaches, and fans. And a couple of big projects here over the summer. One is at the stadium. We had through some private money and some other funds that we had set aside. We are going to replace the club seats that were red at one point are now pink. We're going to take those out and put new seats in. And when we do that, on both lower levels, not on the upper level on the east side, but both lower levels, we're going to take all those seats, including the bench seats, take all those out and do some repainting, resealing, some concrete work. We've got some steps and some different things that, gosh, the concrete work that probably has never been touched in I don't know how many years, and there's some spots that really need some attention. So we're going to do that. Then put the same bench seating back in and with new club seats, and then we'll also put new club seats on the upper deck on the east side. So that'll be going on this summer. The turf and all track will still be usable during that time, but that'll be probably take most of the summer from start to finish. And then over in John Lance Arena, we will be putting in a video board for next season, for next year. And that's not just, that's through private donor who did a pledge to provide the funding for not only a video board, but Casey, you ready? We're going to have air conditioning in John Lance Arena.
All right.
So that the air conditioning heating project is going to take a little bit longer. I think the ultimate goal is to have it in place for fall commencement. It's a little bit of a unique project because they'll get most of the duct work and that sort of stuff done this summer, but then ordering the units, the handlers, whatever they call those things, that'll sit outside. Those are custom built for these sort of projects. And so once you order it and once they build it, wherever that happens, you have to take delivery. They won't hold it for you. So we have to make sure we're ready for that. And then we order it, and then however long that construction part of it takes. So we won't have air conditioning for volleyball, but we'll be headed in the right direction. And we will have the video board. It'll get done probably over the course of about 3 weeks in the month of July. So that's really exciting. That's not just for athletics, but for commencement to have a new heating system with air conditioning, a new video board. That's really, we've done some neat things here with the plaster. We've done it baseball, softball, lots of things. But I mean, I really think this heating, air conditioning, and video board projects kind of transformational for the institution as a whole. When you factor in commencement and leadership banquets and a lot of those different things that happen in the arena. There's been some not only hot days in there, but cold days too, because if you think about that heating system is the original system from 1971, I believe. And so, our coaches were complaining during our, John, what we have 4 days of below zero.
Oh yeah, it was
in the
weather
coaches,
like I hadn't experienced in maybe ever. So.
so Kim and Amanda were calling Nate and saying, Nate, it's cold in the gym. Well, yeah, it's -2 outside. It probably is going to be cold in there. But but the point is that even the heating system couldn't keep up anymore. Now I don't know that any heating system can when it's 2 below, but anyway, that's a pretty exciting deal. That's something that we've been talking about, working on, thinking about for, I don't know, probably for the 11 years I've been here, trying to figure out a way to get that done. And it's like putting new tires on an old car. It's not easily done. But thanks to our facility folks and architects, we've figured out a way to make it happen. And then we'll be publicizing. It's not an anonymous gift. I don't think we're quite ready to roll all that out, but when you'll know at some point who that donor is, and hopefully there'll be a lot of folks going up to he and his wife and thanking them, because this is I think a transformational project for us, really. So, but okay, now I'll stop, John. You can ask questions.
Oh, that's great. Any questions for Jim? I know we've got some former athletes on the call as well, Jim.
Good morning, Jim. I'm Floyd May.
Morning.
I was in the recruitment class of 1965. Legendary Coach Corny Smith. And I want to say I've been monitoring. I live in the Washington, D.C. area now, but I've been monitoring remotely your recruitment classes over the last several years, and I've been very encouraged and impressed by the greater number of Black athletes that the football program has attracted. I think when I was a freshman in the fall of '65, I was one of only 5 Black players on the team, and I was only the second scholarship athlete on that squad. So I'm very pleased about what I'm seeing in the recruitment of the program. I'm going to be on campus actually in September, so I look forward to come by and saying hello to you.
That's awesome. Well, we'll look forward to meeting you and seeing you. Thank you for that comment. Our coaches have worked hard at that. What we've been able to do with some of our tuition discount programs through Gorilla Edge, Gorilla Advantage has certainly helped with that. It's allowed us to get into the Dallas area, Houston area, some other areas, parts of the country that's helped with our minority recruitment. And it is important that we do that, not just in athletics, but as an institution. And I would add to that, we've really made an emphasis to recruit minority coaches as well. And we haven't always done great with that at Pittsburg State, quite honestly. Even in my 11 years, I'd say the first 6 or 7, we struggled with that. And we now have 4 African Americans on our football staff. There were some years we had 0, and we now have 4. Coach Wright's done a really nice job of recruiting coaches as well as student athletes. And I appreciate you saying it. It's one of those things that we don't talk about enough, but it's certainly something we pay attention to and appreciate you noticing.
Thank you.
Other questions for Jim or comments?
Hey, John, Casey here for Jim.
I see half of you, Casey.
Oh, okay, there you go. I haven't looked on the website lately, but is the football schedule, is it up?
I believe it is, Casey. Dan and I just talked about that the other day. We were waiting on times on some of the road games. Now remember, I don't know when Dan flips the switch. It's on there, but when you go to the schedule page, it may still say 2020, and you need to go up there and change it to 2021.
Okay.
At some point, he'll flip the switch and 2021 will show up, and he may have already done that.
Yeah.
We were waiting on times from Northeastern and Hayes, I believe, maybe one other. But yeah, it's there. It just may be missing a few times.
Yeah. Some of my good friends are asking, so I'll get it.
It's there, Casey. I just looked.
Okay.
I
Thank you.
just put the link in the chat to the direct schedule, if that helps.
Okay.
We're going to, Casey, we're going to stick with, we did this in 19 and thought it worked fairly well. We're going to, our first 2 home games will be 7 o'clock. We just almost have to do that from a heat standpoint, and
Right.
and with all the other activities going on September 11th and then Family Day on the 25th, those just almost have to be evening games. But then in 19, we tried October, November, we moved to 1 o'clock instead of 2 o'clock, and we got really positive feedback on that. So we're going to do that again. The road games are kind of all over the map. You know, the Thursday game, I believe, I don't know, Danielle, is it on there? I think it's, I don't know if it's 6 or 7 in Warrensburg, but
7 o'clock.
and,
7 o'clock.
yeah, and then the other ones, you know, people do all kinds of crazy things on game times, but we've tried to be consistent here over the years. But people, I think, outthink themselves on that stuff sometimes. But I don't know if we've gotten all of those. You guys are looking at the schedule, you can see it. There may be some
Right.
TBDs on there still, but
I think the 1 o'clock thing worked fine. I was a little apprehensive about it when we announced it, but I didn't really hear many negative comments.
yeah, it's less time for our guys to sit around in the morning. Kind of
Yeah.
takes an hour off of that, of just them sitting and waiting. Still plenty of time for tailgating, and then just gets everybody up, you know, on the road and headed home a little
Right.
earlier, and we
Right.
don't run into that sort of twilight and where in a long game, or if you had an overtime game, you run into that. It's sort of dark, but not really dark. Gets us out of that. So, yeah, we really didn't hear anything negative at all, to be honest.
Jim, I have a question about your academic support system with the teams now. I made a comment on our call last night that I arrived at Pittsburgh as an athlete student, and because of an injury, I became a student athlete.
Mhm.
And I say that because when I was a freshman, there was not really a dedicated academic support system in place.
Yeah.
And being a first generation person in my family to go to college, it was kind of tough trying to address the responsibility of being an athlete as well as being a student. And so there was a great need to put in place a system where the athletes would find some support academically for their responsibilities as a student.
Sure. Yeah, Floyd, it continues to be a challenge. I'm not going to tell you it's not. It's, we've lost some positions over the years through the budget situation with the state and declining state support, and a little, when enrollment goes down, even a fraction of a percent, that means our athletic fee income revenue goes down, and those all become challenges, and so we have to make tough decisions on the things to support, and maybe other things we can't support at the level we'd like to. So we don't have a full-time academic coordinator. We have a part-time person that helps with that. So that's the bad news. The good news, and we'd like to do that. That's in our strategic plan. It's toward the top of our priority list. If we could have a person dedicated full-time to it. We have a great advisement system university-wide here, and so that's the good news, is we have really quality. Our faculty does a quality job with academic advisement, and we have the Student Success Center, which a lot of campuses don't have, and when we have direct access to that, they help the entire student body, but they really do a nice job of helping us, especially with our at-risk, what we would consider at-risk. So our graduation rates and academic success retention rates indicate we're doing a good job there, but we know there's isolated cases where we have student athletes that really could use some help. We do invest a little bit in or some in tutors, more on a case-by-case basis when a coach knows a student athlete struggling in a particular course. We try to provide some help there. It's certainly we're trying to right now tackle the student athlete wellness piece and make sure from an athletic training, sports medicine, rehabilitation, strength training. We also needed to do some work there, and we're really tackling that right now and hope to have some really good news on that front here in the next couple of weeks. The academic piece would be next. So it's down the list a little bit because we get such great help across campus. We feel like we can tackle some of these other things first, but it's certainly in our strategic plan. It's something I'd like to see us do better.
Okay.
Whatever time I'll still be here, but you're right. It's something that deserves attention. No question.
One more follow-up question in that regard. What is your current graduation rate by your student athletes in all your sports?
Well, you know what? I've got that. I can, I don't want to quote that number and be wrong. I've got it somewhere here on my desk because we just got those from NCAA a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
Can I pull that out and I'll send that to John and have him share that with you? It's our student athlete number is ahead of the general student body. And in Division II, we use an academic success rate. We have we can tell you our graduation rate as well, but we also have a tool called academic success rate that's specific or unique to Division II. And what it does is it takes into account more of a retention. In federal grad rates, they don't give you credit for transfer students. And in the academic success rate, it does. So I'll share both of those with John and have him send those to you. If I gave you a number, I'd be guessing a little bit because we just got the new information here recently.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, we can talk about these amazing programs and these amazing facilities, and we can show you pictures of them. And I know Stephanie just sent out a link to the campus tour. Jim, you might not be aware, but we worked with Abby and did a pretty extensive tour of campus. And so everyone's going to be able to have some really nice video and pictures of what our facilities look like. But they look so much better in person, folks. And so certainly open invitation to get you back on campus here if you are able to do so. So we'd love to have you back for football or volleyball or baseball or any of the above. And we really love to show off these facilities. Yeah. They're just so impressive. And Jim and his folks have done a great job. And I can't believe you've been here 11 years, Jim. Wow. Time flies.
Yeah, I know. That is hard to believe, John. I shared with John, Casey, you've seen my kids running around here from time to time, but my youngest son was in second grade when we came here, and he graduates high school next Saturday.
They had a terrible hailstorm in Oklahoma last night.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, Jim, we certainly appreciate your time. And like Jim said, when he finds a couple of those statistics, he'll send them my way. And
it won't take me long here, John. I'll do that when we hang up. And
that sounds absolutely great.
And Floyd, we look forward to seeing you in September. And certainly, if you've not been on campus in a few years and seen some athletic facilities and so forth, we'd like to show you those.
I appreciate that very much. Look forward to it.
You bet.
All right, everyone. Thank you. At 11 o'clock, we've got student life and student activities and student diversity programs. So if that's something you're interested in learning more about, we've got a lot going on in those areas. So that will kick off at 11. And you'll get a little break. And then at 1 o'clock, we'll meet with Dr. Scott and get a university update from him. and induct those of you in the class of 70 and 71 into the Half Century Club. All right. Okay. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you.
Thanks for what you guys do, and ladies.
You bet. Our pleasure.